you will see when you get in, all above the roof, I mean, on top, on the roof, and on the windows, there's a representation of everything, basically. Passion of Christ, the miracles that they can report, all these things in 4 years. See? And here on the windows, you will see 4. The first one is from here, and the last one is there, which is the festival. What was the first one? Number 1, the encounter. The encounter happened the 6th of May of 1518, when the first Capitan, Juan de Grijalva, came to the island, and he discovered the island by coincidence. He wasn't meant to come over here, he was going over to the mainland. But he missed it by 19 kilometers, just a bit. So, and he get on the backside, he thought it was the mainland, so he came with 240 minutes in 4 ships. He decided to send 2 ships up north and 2 ships down south, just to grab as much land they can. See? They didn't get to say hi, obviously. But what was the surprise for them? 3 days later, they met each other right here on the west side of the island, right in front. They just went around the block. That was it. So he wasn't coming out. It's an island, it's a small island in comparison to Cuba. So it was a small island, he didn't care. But what happened? On that time, they were having the ceremony of the Mayans. Remember I was telling you that the Mayans come here to the island and pray to the goddess ship? It was happening that time, the ceremony. So he decided to onboard. They didn't fight in the island. They didn't get any defense against them. Why? Because the island for the Mayans is sacred. Mayans is the belief, and the woman who was so important for them that they thought the island is similar to woman's uterus. When the baby is growing, the baby is surrounded by water. So the island is surrounded by water. So that's why they say there is a secret. So the warriors wasn't here, everybody was in the mainland. And they didn't come just basically everybody with weapons and everything. They just came here to pray and bring offerings. That was it. And so he decided to onboard. He made each other with these guys. That was the first time they encountered. So in that time, the 6th of May of 1518, they decided to do the first mass in Mexico. That was here in Cozumel when they started. The first mass in Mexico. And the first encounter. Previous years, 2 Spaniards came to the island, but they didn't come as capitans. They came as slaves. Why? Because they were going back from Panama, going back to Cuba. But they get hit by a storm, so they got a shipwreck. So only 2 people survived from that. And they get, which is now Tulum, on the beach of Tulum. So they get captured by the natives, the Mayans. So these guys helped them up to survive because they were almost dying, 20 days on the sea. No food, no water, so it's kind of crazy. So they decided to help them out, and they sent them to the main chief of the island at that time. So when they get here, they were slaves. So this name is Gonzalo Guerrero and Jerónimo de Aguilar. That was the 2 first Spaniards who came. So these guys, if you're in a place that you've never been before, and you're by yourself basically, you have to learn 3 things: habits, traditions, and obviously the language. So this guy learned the Mayan language. So when this guy came, Juan de Grijalva, the Mayans called Jerónimo de Aguilar and says, "Why people like you are coming?" So this guy came, they talked each other, and that's why they decided to do the first mass. And then Gonzalo Guerrero, previous years, 5, 6 years before, he was falling in love with the daughter of the main chief, the Princess Maya Saceja. So, and they get 3 kids, 1 baby girl and 2 boys. This represents the first mixed family in Mexico. That was the first one. First mixed family, second, first mass, and the third, the first encounter between the Spaniards and Mayans, and to any other religion. Everything is started on the island. See? Now, the second one, that was on the 29th of September of 1527. The last Spaniard who came, Francisco de Montero. This guy came to the island, claimed the island as Spanish territory, and he baptized the island with the Christian name that has remained until these days, San Miguel. If you see on the maps, or on the paper that I give you, Cozumel, it has San Miguel of Cozumel, or San Michael of Cozumel. That was the name, it still remains since that day, 29th of September of 1527, until this day. See? So, that was the second wheel part. The third, this one happened 300 years later. The Mayans, the Spaniards came to conquer, they took 170 years to conquer the Mayans and the whole peninsula and Cozumel. See? Because the extension of the Mayans goes from Yucatan, which is close to Cancun, Yucatan, all the way down south with the border with Belize, Honduras, and Salvador, farther until Nicaragua, part of Nicaragua has. So that's all Mayan culture. So they, to conquer all them, small village everywhere, so it was hard, 170 years. But the 130 remaining years, in here on the island was abandoned 300. During all those 300 years, it was abandoned. So if you saw the movie of Pirates of the Caribbean, with Johnny Depp, well, it was true. Without monsters, but it was true. All the Spaniards, French, England people, the English people, they used to come on cruises, And the rebels or the pirates, they take all over from them. They bring it some places to the island where the ship was damaged. They get on the farthest point of the island just to fix it and get supplies like water on the island. Besides to be an island, we have water ice. It's a sweet water. See, we call it cenotes. That's what we call it. So it's a sweet water. It's not salt water. It's an island. Where they're coming from? Miracles, you know. So now in the 1800s, basically to be exact, 1847, a war started. The Mayans, they start fighting against the white ones. During that time, it was already mixed people around. So only the white ones fighting against the white ones. Kids of a Spaniard father and mother, born in Mexico, we call criollos. And the mixed families, Spaniard father and a Mayan woman, we call mestizos, or mixed. So these guys, only the white ones has the rights to live a normal life. See? And the brown, like me, is gonna be a slave. What kind of slave they do? They just work for the white ones. For food, not for any salary or something like that, only for food, basically to survive. So the Mayans stands up and fights against human rights, getting back the traditions and land. So that war lasted 56 years, from 1847 until 1901. At the end, 1901, 3rd of May of 1901, they come here to the island and start the celebration of this. We call la Fiesta del Cedral or la Fiesta de la Santa Cruz, San Cruz Festival or El Cedral Festival. What you find there? All the traditional dances, traditional costumes, all the traditional Mayan art now mixed with another culture. In this case, for example, in our dances, you will see the women. I love the women's dress, like the traditional. It's a white dress with flowers on the top, flowers on the bottom, and a big flowers on the top of the head. So just like that woman standing up in the middle. And that is what they're looking for. Normally the dancer that called jarana, they call the dance of the head of the pork. La danza del cochino, garza cochino. That was the dance known, basically traditional dancing. This one happened the last week of April until these days, until the 5th of May, which is the closing day. So that's the celebration. Why is the celebration? Because we get backward traditions on that one. If somebody's telling you the Mayan culture is dead, no, only the traditions are kind of dead. The Mayan culture is still. The people that we will find who speak Mayan, who speak different languages, it would be on the mainland. On the small villages, you will see it. When you pass into a street and you start hearing like some kind of language, they're Mayan. Only on the peninsula. On the big cities, if we go to Yucatan, for example, you will see different kind of mix. You will see Mexican look like Chinese. You will see Mexicans look like European people. Tall, red hair, blue eyes, long beard, white, and people short, and they were tall, and people short, with the eyes in an oriental way, because the Chinese came to the peninsula as well. Farther than the coast in Canada, all the way down to the pool, just looking for land. So they can put the seeds on the earth so they can grow up. So that was basically the whole history, just resuming on a few times. We don't have 5 hours to do that. And there's more. Any questions? Any doubts? No? The pineapple. The island is part of a fruit, the traditional fruit of the island. They used to have pineapple in here. Actually, one of the teams, baseball team here in the island is known as the Piñeros of Cozumel. The pineapple team. Because normally they do this. They used to be farms during the 1920 until 1940 for production to export. It was basically the copra. Copra is the meat of the coconut. They were selling just dry, selling over to the United States for bakery. And basically from that, gum, jade, some woods, like a cedar, like the tree of gum as well. So they were exporting back and forth. Pineapple, mangoes, orange, lime with wood, you know. So all that part, the small part, besides fishing, that was everything from the 40s until the 60s, more or less. But now in the 60s, 63, 65, the first cruise ship came to the island. So it was now everything now on the island. There's a few villages that have like a little farm. A few people has a farm, but the rest of it is basically tourism. That's all. That was because on the south side of the island there is Punta Celaray. On the south side of Punta Sur, I don't know if you saw the brochures on the ship. They say Punta Sur. On the south side, during the 50s, one guy who was exporting bananas. They were going from the South America over in this case, besides to have a strong light, this ship crashes. So the owner came from the United States, came to that. We don't even know. It doesn't say on the history. It says then he went over the ship or not. But at the end, he fell in love with the island. So he get back over to the States. He invited one of the writers for a famous magazine from the United States. So he came to write an article, and he says the news. Voila. That's how we start everything from here. The people coming out from everywhere around the world. From that just small version. Beautiful island, of course. There was no pictures, blue water, everything around sandy, which is nice. Then came Jack and Stone. That's why it's there. All church. Let's go right. Just go around. We're gonna spend too much in here. Which is the meaning of this church? This was the original church. See? That was built at the beginnings of the 80s. That was built at the endings of 90s. So, but this church, if you see the roof, it's a zinc roof. See? So it's very weak. In the island, last 2 years ago, we had 3 hurricanes in a row. So why the people still fixing it? Why they keep this one? When I used to came with my aunt when I was a kid, you will see the benches outside, just hearing just some sound outside, hearing the preaching. See? And all the benches on the outside. That was in a big land like this. So why they decide to do it? The representation of the meaning of this one is a life meaning. Why? The preachers normally time to time he preaches to the new generations. The ones the elders they have already know about this church. He says, we keep fixing the church. That's what normally you have to keep fixing your life every single day. So when you don't forget where you're coming from, then you will know and you will feel proud where you are from. So that's the meaning of it. Never forget your past, because you know where you are right now. So that's the meaning, and that's the whole history who gives. This one is still on service just during the week. Sometimes come the nuns. Sometimes people that you can see the guy inside is praying. And that one is a service that says keep open as well to do the same thing. But normally that one on Sundays. And the small hatches that you see here outside, that's for catechism, for the kids. Every Saturday, a bunch of the first community to do that. So, what do you think? Good? Yeah. All right.